Welcome to the Low and Slow podcast.
We're your girls, Crystal and Laken. If you press play today, trust, you made the right decision.
And know whenever you're listening to this, it's exactly the right time.
We invite you to pull up a seat to the conversation, get curious about your current perspective,
and lean in for the opportunity to see yourself in another woman's story.
We created That Girl Magic because we've been where you are.
Here, the talk is real and the breath is steady.
Let's get into your next mindset shift. Welcome back to the Low and Slow podcast. It's your girls, Crystal and Laken. And today we are circling back on the juicy episode we did a couple weeks ago. We got a lot of really good feedback from the mother wound episode. And so we want to circle back on the topic because what happens when you become the mother, right? While you're still healing something you've never received. Right? It's this unique sense of grief, per se, that you start to experience when a woman becomes a mother and when she starts to, realize that like you're being asked to nurture others, right? While still grieving this thing that you actually have not gotten yourself, or maybe you're not used to getting yourself. And so this is going to be an episode that lands for a lot of women because sometimes we don't even realize that this is happening until some of these things come into our lives. And so if you're tuning in today, we encourage you, if you haven't listened to the mother wound episode, go back, reference that, press pause on us and come back.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you physically become a mother, right? It's like, it's not just in bearing or raising children or nurturing children. This can be, a caretaker in any form, whether that's taking care of family members or leading a team or holding space for clients, depending on the type of work that you do. And at the essence of it, it's really just being the woman that you feel like everyone relies on you. Everyone leans on you. Like you're the what's that point in the pillar that I'm trying to think of, that the keystone, right? Like that thing in the middle. It's like, if you take it out, everything's going to crumble. And sometimes it doesn't fully surface right away until life asks you to be that person for everybody else. And that's when you are able to gain a lot of awareness around this wound for the first time. And that can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah. So we're going to break this down today into like arcs, into pieces, right? Make this really digestible for you, right? We're going to first start off with straight up recognition, right? This moment is something that so many women experiencing this is the moment when so many women are experiencing this and they may not have the language for it, but can we recognize it and normalize it in this moment, right? They're showing up for someone else and they suddenly realize, fuck, like, I don't know how to give this to this person without depleting myself, right? I'm not sure how to do this. I'm going to, maybe this is where you're bumping into patterns of what you've normally done before, right? And so it's that realization in that moment. Can we just normalize when this happens that this is the first step? We got to become aware of it.
Yeah, caregiving has a way of exposing the places that are still really tender inside of us because it's asking us to expand our capacity beyond ourselves, and it reveals where we're undernourished and where we're not taking care of ourselves. Because if we find ourselves getting triggered by that or having a negative emotional response to the needs of others, it's usually because we're not meeting our own needs.
Yeah. Facts, right? And often what happens, what rises anyway, isn't anger, but it's grief, right? It's grief for what you didn't get. It's grief for what maybe no one noticed that you needed, right? Which is a huge one of like, God, if I could just go back to my little self and I just realized that little girl needed a hug or needed some support or needed somebody to tell her it was going to be okay, right?
Yeah, and this will show up in conversations too, like with kids a lot. Like you'll hear moms say like, well, nobody was there to do that for me when I was growing up, right. Like, and that's that patterning that's coming through.
Yeah. So this episode, being that we have a previous episode of this, we want to incorporate a couple different things than what we normally incorporate into the episode, because anytime, especially with women, right? And we're talking about the mother wound, like the body has to be involved, right? The mind is creating the environment that the body's responding to, and the body is getting our physical meat suit involved. It's getting the feelings involved. It's getting the somatics, right? So I want you to just take a pause right here. And as we're talking about this topic, right, this grief that's coming up, can we just do a body scan, a body check-in? Like, where, when we're talking about this, do you feel grief in your body when you hear that, right? Can we just do a scan? Is it in your chest? Is it in your throat? Is it in your shoulders? Maybe your stomach, right? And this is not for you to do anything with this information. It's just to, like we said in this first digestible piece, recognize.
Yeah, just notice it. And then we can move to understanding when caregiving activates old wounds. So it's little things that can become triggers, like, a big one, a very noticeable one is going to be your child crying, or a child that you're taking care of crying. Something else that may be a little bit more insidious could be, someone just needing a little too much from you, or wanting to need like physical comfort a little bit more from you than what your capacity allows for at that time. Your partner or someone close to you asking for emotional support that feels very fatiguing, or anything that is a drain on you, or how that feels in the moment. And suddenly your nervous system tends to react a little bit bigger than that moment calls for, right? This is where we see like, I just can't, or, this like snap, or this quick reaction that often looks like overwhelm or overstress or irritability. But that's not where it's coming from.
Yeah. Because it's not just in that moment that's what's happening, right? It's the moment that's happening colliding with every unmet moment that happened before, which, that's a bar in itself of like, hold up, I'm experiencing something in real time that I didn't even get, that I have no evidence of, that I'm needing to deliver on, right? And it's like, oh my God, fuck. And if we can just say it like that for a second, where it's like, yeah, it's going to activate something, right? So all of this is stored in our body. When you playing a record and you go to that specific groove and scratch in the record, it's going to play that song, right? So it's like the same thing. It's going to activate that unmet need before.
Yeah. And that's where the nervous system is going to recognize like, oh, this feels familiar, right? And the familiar pain is what's going to get activated first, because our nervous system is always going to go towards what's most familiar over, what's novel or what's different or what's going to challenge us to change.
Yeah. And so when it gets activated, right, this is also sometimes not only just grief, like we're going to name some of these emotions and things coming up, because these are signals from our nervous system. The body is talking to us. Girls, are we listening? Right? Sometimes resentment shows up here too. And women feel shameful admitting that shit. That like, yeah, there is resentment within you around certain things, right? And it's very vulnerable to say, especially to another woman or to your partner, that it's like, I'm feeling resentful about this, right? It's like, it's really dropping the armor and being like, there's a wound here that I know that looks like it's a scab or maybe a scar, but like this still hurts me, right? It's the hardest thing for an adult to say that hurt my feelings, or that I'm still feeling something around this area and I'm a grown ass woman now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Resentment is almost always a sign of something being repressed. And the only way to offset resentment or to battle it or overcome it is transparency, right? Like that requires vulnerability. So if, what's the opposite of repressing it is expressing it, right? So anytime I feel like there could be a hint of resentment under this, right? What am I not expressing? What am I not speaking? What am I not being honest with myself about? And then speaking it out loud, because then I'm going to harbor resentment when I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And like resentment is often where it's like they're cousins. There's grief and then there's resentment, and resentment happens when grief has nowhere to go, right? The container hasn't been provided for that grief to really be felt in a safe way. And so it's going to show up now as a new thing. It's kind of like it's manifesting itself into its new emotion, right? It's evolving over time. All right. So we talked about, can we recognize, we have the recognition that this is happening, where caregiving starts to activate these old wounds, right? And then we want to bring back in the body here. The body is going to remember before the mind can understand. And let's actually talk about like how that feels in the body, because it is when this happens that women seem like so confused of like, well, I just don't know why this is coming up right now, right? Like, I'm so sorry. This is where we start to apologize of like when we're getting emotional of like, I've worked to this. Like, I don't know why this is coming up, right? And it's because your body remembers, right? When we go to that specific line, it's going to play that song, right? So the mother wounds aren't just emotional stories or these memories that you have. Like, these are things that somatically live within your body. And I want to take a second to touch on this because like we talked about in the first mother wound episode, you are born inheriting stories of mom and dad, right? So there are things that are ultimately that you're born with because they're in your DNA, right? They're in your fascia, they're in your body, that are not yours. But then it is this place of when you are unlearning what's yours, what's not yours, where you are now deciding like, what do I do with this information? And how can I learn to live with what's somatically stored within me, and what can I release, right? Like, what is mine to hold on to? What do I get to change or put down that's not mine?
And oftentimes you're not gonna link them out of the gate. You're not gonna tie that, my tight jaw or my upregulated shallow breathing or this like intense irritability that I feel or this, overwhelming exhaustion, that it's tied to an emotional story or it's tied to something that's deeper, right? We think this is just a result of stress or working too much or, putting too much on my plate. But again, like we said before, it's not this moment. It's the compound effect of everything leading up to that, and where you didn't meet what you needed for your body or your mind leading up to this scenario. And then your body can only go so far. So when your body is having these physical red flags that it's raising, these symptoms, right? That is it. It's literally just doing that. It's saying, hey, this needs attention, right? Like, it needs to be paid attention to. We need to go back into an internal process of understanding, why is my body telling me this and what is it trying to tell me?
Yeah. So like when these things are coming up, and that we can just normalize for a second that it's like, yeah, my body is remembering here. Like, can we call it out of like, oh, body, you're talking to me? Great. Right. And when we start to do that, and when we can understand that, then we can also start to even question of like these other things that are present in the body, of like those feelings of wanting to disappear, or the times that we've shut down or to disassociate, right? Like, all of these things are happening because the emotions have nowhere to go per se. We're just flooded with them.
Yeah. And in those moments, a really good tool is something called orienting, right? And this is just to bring myself back into the present. So when I start to disassociate because all these alarm bells are going off and I'm really struggling with that, that's a really good way to pause and then take in your surrounding to bring yourself back into the present moment, right? So using your senses to identify things in your environment, naming 3 things that you can see, right? Or even, going through the senses. I can smell this. I can, taste this. I can hear this, right? Like, using the senses to bring you in the present, and then letting your body register that to recognize, okay, this is where I am. I'm here. I'm safe. This is a feeling that is not belonging to this present moment, but it's attached to something in the past that I'm already aware of.
Yeah. And with this orienting, the more that you do it, like, I want to speak on this because I know it's challenging at first, right? Of like, when you can catch it in the moment that this is happening, like, it's like a lot of times when we haven't caught it, it's like it's that default pattern, right? But when we catch it in the moment, right? Maybe one where our child does something, right? And then we're, going to respond and you like catch yourself and you're like, fuck, right? Like, okay, I'm here. Can we catch, like, I was about to operate out of this place, right? And actually that's not what's happening here, right? It's like catching it is the piece where that orienting back in is going to be the piece that happens, when you decide to like respond from a different place. Like this is the difference, right?
And it's not going to be the go-to, right?
No, it's not going to be the go-to.
It's going to take practice. Like it's okay to allow yourself to be like, oh, I didn't think of that. And then think of it later and then still do it, because then we're getting the practice in, and eventually it will become the go-to if you're intentional about doing it often enough, even in reflection.
Yeah. I think also too, like when this thing is coming up and you're catching yourself, it's like maybe obviously not to your child, but just in general, like saying it to yourself of like, I talk to myself all the time, right? It's like, oh, that's that thing coming up again. And like, I don't need to do anything or fix it. But if I could just like name it and say it out loud, like I can make it tangible to where it's like, this is what that is, but that's not what's actually happening now. See, like, like let's come back to what's actually happening right now and respond to that. So, that is a skill that the more you use it, like that muscle, it will get clearer and clearer every time that you use it. And it's not about figuring it out. It's just about differentiating.
Yeah.
We talked about in the last episode, the reparenting, and that was kind of like the wave that we took you through in the first mother wound episode. But I want to spend a little bit more time on that, because this is where the reparenting comes in real time, right? When you catch yourself and when you differentiate, like, yes, this is what was happening, from there, but that's not what's happening now. And this is where like, healing some of these feelings of, I don't want to say healing, but like meeting some of these feelings like grief, resentment, when you've been like shut down or dismissed or didn't have space for your emotions, right? Like this is where these things become active, like they become applicable, because reparenting is not like this theory that's like, oh, just try this, right? It's in the moment where that's when you're deciding different. It's when you're overwhelmed, right? It's when you're flustered as hell. It's when maybe you're like activated in a way that you could operate not how you would want to, but you're going to choose something different instead. So I'm going to choose like softness instead of attack, right? And it's in that moment where we're starting to acknowledge that reparenting is happening in real time, whether we recognize it or not, when we are choosing different.
Yeah, it's a part of recognizing your self-talk and like the ways that you're shitty to yourself, right? It's like it's saying something to yourself like, this is hard for me because I need to be taken care of too. Like I have needs too. My needs are important too, right? It's shifting from, I recognize a lot of ways that I'm very aggressive with myself. Like I, push myself in a way that isn't always nice. And I have to catch that a lot of times and be like, oh, you know what? I'm actually doing great and it's fine. Like, or when I mess up something and it's like, we all do this where we'll be like, oh, it's stupid or like, you idiot. Right. And it's like, no, I'm not an idiot. I'm a smart lady and I can do this. Like I'm doing just fine. Right. It's like just reframing that for yourself. And it's not going to be the go-to at first, because we have these really firmly ingrained patterns and a lot of bad habits when it comes to the way that we talk to ourselves. But can we get into the habit of recognizing it when we do it and offering ourselves an alternative so that over time, now that's the new go-to.
Yeah. And I think, even in that, if the sentence that happens after we feel that moment of like, oh, I could respond in this way, but then I choose to respond in this way, is like, this is where also the vulnerability comes in, right? Like you said, this is hard for me because I needed care too. So let's say like to a partner, or like maybe your child who's grown now, or like, older, where they can understand of like, this is where true vulnerability comes in, because they're actually seeing you in that moment of like, this is something I'm not the best at giving myself because I did not have this, right? Or this is something where, when this happens, it makes me feel like this way, right? Because now you're getting the inner child involved, and the inner child within you is no longer alone inside the trigger. You are listening to what that inner child is saying, right? You're giving the inner child the mic for a second to say, not literally like, what do you need in this moment? But I'm listening to you, and I'm also being vulnerable with the person maybe who's across from me, or, experiencing the dynamic with me back and forth, that you're allowing yourself to be seen there too. So it's like that trigger in that moment. It's, I think about this, with, when we had Melissa on, she was talking about this, where it's like, even being able to acknowledge to your kid of like, I'm upset, like, yeah, mommy shouldn't have responded in that way or whatever. And like, she was frustrated, and just being able to like take accountability of like what that was. And that's the vulnerable piece, where then you're like bringing little you into the conversation without reacting from the little you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's as simple as, when something comes up around, if you feel overwhelmed with all of the things that you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself around about doing it, the right way, then it can be something as easy as, hey, it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to do this perfectly for it to be okay, or for it to be done, or for it to be, enough, right? It's like, or when you feel like everyone's leaning on you and it feels overwhelming and you have not met your needs, just recognizing it's okay that I have needs, right? Like, I'm allowed to have needs too. I'm allowed to meet my own needs too in this mix. I'm allowed to be included in the bucket of needs, right? Mm-hmm. Or just a matter of telling yourself that you matter, right? When we have a really big habit of being like, oh, it must be nice, or I wish I could do that for me. It's like, okay, can I do that for me instead of I wish I could do that for me? Is that possible? Can I make my needs matter too? It's just reframing it to yourself, and we don't do it enough, and it's really, really important.
Mm-hmm. And because within this episode, we're putting more of the nervous system, like grounding practices, right, in place. Like, again, it's stored somatically, like the power of these little things, these 10 little fingers, right, on your own body is powerful, right? They need to feel from you, like from you to your current self to little you, like all of those versions of you are stored within your body. So it's like, as you're listening to us, like, can you just put one hand on your heart, one hand on your stomach? I like to put my thumb like right above my navel, and it's just like, can I just take a deep inhale and a slow exhale? And just ask yourself that really good question. What do I need right now that I usually deny myself? Right? And in that moment, it's like this little practice when the trigger's there can be the thing that has you respond differently. And whatever the answer is, can you allow it to come without judgment?
Yeah.
Because it's the judgment that comes afterwards that will be the thing that makes you not do it. But can you just allow it to come up and give yourself what you need for a second in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah. Yeah. A version of that I do with a lot of my clients is like, take a breath and then just ask yourself, what's one thing that I can do that will help me right now? And what's one thing I can stop doing that's not helping me right now? Mm-hmm. Right. It's just like getting curious with yourself and tapping in.
Yeah. And I think it's important, even just with like any kind of, and I get it. I don't mean like in the middle of your triggers, like, making it this whole big thing, but just something intentionally within yourself where it's like, I need to acknowledge that I normally do this, and what is it that I actually need, rather than just doing what's default.
Yeah. Yeah. Or what is it that I'm usually denying that I could accommodate for me? Instead of accommodating everybody else and continuing to deny myself. Yeah. And it's also important to remember that as we're working towards breaking these cycles, that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like, breaking cycles does not mean becoming perfect. That's why we keep reiterating, like, this is not going to be the go-to. It's not going to be the default out of the gate. This takes intention. It takes practice. It takes rewiring. It's working through something differently than how you're used to doing it.
Yeah. And this is the piece that people may not like. It's like doing this work, breaking anything, the word breaking itself.
Yeah.
It's not easy, right? And it's not easy. You're going to get triggered, right? You're going to react sometimes. You're going to feel that grief in the middle of practicing this, right? That does not mean that you're failing, right? Those are actually signs that you are doing something different. And I think it's the piece that it's like we want to hop, skip, and jump to, okay, I feel better about this, right? But it's like, just like in relationship, like how do you heal from things in relationships? In relationship where you can actually practice giving yourself what you need and still staying within yourself and not, not immediately abandoning yourself or like, just going along with what the other person wants. Like it's actually being, can I stay with myself through the areas that I'm triggered and know that this cycle is like, I get to keep meeting it. It's not going to just go away, but I get to keep meeting it differently each time, a little bit different, a little bit better.
Yeah, it's just like anything else. Like, can we focus on the things that are within our control instead of outside of our control, right? It's like recognizing that just because I'm noticing this and it's uncomfortable, the fact is that I'm still noticing it, right? The pattern is becoming something that is in my consciousness as opposed to something that is in my subconscious or not available to me. And consciousness is where I have the access to it to be able to break it to begin with. So can I focus on that as opposed to, oh, it's, I haven't gotten to the outcome that I want yet. I haven't arrived yet. It's like the same thing as when we're just focused on the outcome of, what the number is on the scale as opposed to all of the things that we're doing. And like our energy is getting better and we're improving our sleep and our nutrition is so much better and we're moving our body. But it's like, we're telling ourselves none of that matters because this one outcome that we haven't achieved yet. It's the same thing here, right? It's like, oh, I'm still responding the same way in all these ways. Okay. But you have awareness of it now. And so now we can shift.
Yeah. And in the shift, and as you're shifting in that, right? Like the goal here is not to be this flawless mother, right? Or in motherhood or in birthing something new, right? If you're, it's not just about being a mom to children, right? It's just anything where like being a mother, it's that sacral being, like you're creating, there's joy, there's aliveness, there's vitality, right? Like in any of that, it's not to be flawless. It's not to be this flawless caregiver. The goal is having the awareness with repair. Right? So like I can be aware of these things. And then that integration piece is like, how am I repairing it? Right? Because I could be aware all day. It could be in my consciousness all day. And if I just keep choosing to do the same thing, I keep staying in the same cycle. So the goal here is not to be perfect or flawless, right? Because no one's going to be. But can I each time when I am aware of it, when it does stand out, repair it differently, right? Meet it differently. Sometimes I think, women think like, if I still struggle with this, then I must not be healing. It must not be working. What did I do all this for? Like, I've been in therapy about this for years, right? But often healing is going to look like feeling that same fucking trigger over and over again. And you're like, God damn it. Right. But it's like eventually when you stop shitting on yourself for feeling the trigger and you get to meet yourself in like, think about the word reparenting, right? It's like a parent is going to have to parent a child more than once. Right? When you are reparenting, that means you're going to be parenting more than once, right? You're redoing the thing that you've already been doing. And so it's feeling that same trigger and responding differently this time. And if we keep responding the same way and we're also aware of that, it's like, oh, okay, this is also where I get to do different, right? It's all information.
Yeah, it's like people think that the problem is what goes away. The problem is not what goes away. The problems aren't going anywhere, right? It's just how we respond to the problems and how we choose to handle them differently, how we show up differently and more aligned with, how we want to show up, our desired identity, our desired self. And that's where the growth is. That's the rewiring. That's, where we get into the possibility of our nervous system actually changing and reflecting what we want to see.
Yeah. So I I love that this podcast, we named it the Low and Slow Podcast for a reason because, gosh, so many of us are, I'm myself included, fucking puckered, okay? Like, we need to breathe, all right? The most free things in life, breathing, sleeping, walking, and we just take advantage. We don't take full advantage of them, right? So it's like, and I'm not saying like, get on the podcast and we're doing like kumbaya and breathing together, but like, really, when's the last time you took a breath? When's the last time you let like a slow exhale out through your mouth? Like when I'm on calls with clients, I'm like, breathe slowly. And I want you to blow so much air that my hair looks like I'm a model. Okay. Like breathe, blow it all the way out, right? Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften. Your body is already carrying these things, and your body does not need to carry all of these generations of yourself, of women before you, alone.
Yeah.
Like we can let some of that go, right? And if this episode, like I mentioned, like we know that this is going to hit for a lot of women. Why? Because we all came from a woman, right? Like if this episode stirred maybe grief in you that is still existing or is unmet or that you don't know what to deal with, can I validate you for a second of like, it makes sense if it stirred something up in you, right? Because sometimes grief only surfaces when we're safe enough to feel it, right? If we've been in protection mode, if we've been in survival mode where none of this was happening and then all of a sudden it's happening, it's like, oh my goodness, well now I'm in more of a space where I can actually deal with these things, right? And a lot of the times that's looked at in a negative light and we don't see it in that way, that it's like, oh, wait, it feels like this is going to shit, but this is actually my body saying like, can we take a look at that? Take a look at this because I'm wanting to feel safe around somewhere that didn't feel safe enough before to do something about it.
Yeah. And if you find yourself in a space where, you are in a caretaking role while you're still trying to heal this mother wound, then, you're not behind and there's nothing wrong with you. You're just finding yourself. And that's really important work.
Yeah, it is. It's sacred work and this is why with women, like the power of sisterhood, the power of just women being on their own journey and like not comparing and not, this is going to look different for every woman. And while women are figuring it out, can you celebrate the woman figuring it out? Can you stick by the woman figuring it out? Like, can you know that she's doing her sacred work just like you're doing yours? And like, ultimately, when women are doing this work within themselves, they're becoming the safe place, which the safe place that a lot of this world needs, not just within themselves, but for everyone that is impacted around them when a woman operates from her safe place. Not because you got everything right, but because you're choosing like this consciousness for yourself over repeating the same cycle.
Yeah. So ladies, if this episode resonated with you, or if you know somebody that's just carrying all this resentment and feeling like shit about it because of their caretaking role, send it to them.
Maybe you're just
share
quiet.
It.
Yeah, like they're quiet about it. They're just harboring it, right? They're in there alone. Right? If that's happening, if you're ready, if you're in a space where you're ready to do this work in a more deeper embodied space, I want to invite you to our Peace, Play, Love retreat.
Yes.
Right? Because this retreat is created for these exact types of healing conversations. It's a container, a small, intentional, safe container where we are allowing you to see where it's not just peace, play, love, right? What is underneath that? It's inner child work. It's all these stories that we've been carrying. It's these feelings that we have felt for a long time that have been sitting up on the shelf. And it's like now they're in the forefront and we don't know what to do with them. We don't know how to integrate them, right? It's like this space within our within women's retreats is created for you. And can you give yourself permission to be in the room?
Yeah. In a room where your nervous system can actually downregulate and soften, right? It's like where you get to be witnessed by other women in a way that doesn't Doesn't happen very often, completely free of judgment or performance, right? And it's like where you can release all this stuff that doesn't serve you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's your invitation. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. As always, we really appreciate you guys being here, and we love to hear from you. We love to hear your feedback. If you can like, share, subscribe, share this podcast with one of your friends, your homegirls, your coworker, somebody, right? Everyone's got a mama. Share it with someone. That is the most free thing and most helpful thing that you can do. And we'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time. When was the last time you felt truly clear and at peace?
Maybe you've been asking yourself, why can't I just feel peace?
Most of us don't just need another escape. Vacation is great and all, but what we really need is integration.
When's the last time you gave yourself permission to play? As adults, we don't do that enough. And this is to be messy, curious, maybe even a little wild, like the little girl you used to be. She's still here. She's just waiting for you to say it's safe to come out again.
That's why we created Peace, Play, Love. For 7 days in the Costa Rican jungle, luxury meets real life with story work, somatic practices, and nervous system tools that help you not just reset here, but take that peace home with you.
I've been bringing women to Costa Rica for years because this land and the people have been a part of my own healing journey. And all of us have left transformed for the better.
At Peace, Play, Love, we'll slow down together, we'll breathe, we'll meet the guilt, the shame, the exhaustion, and learn how to alchemize them into permission, into softness, into peace that you can actually feel in your body.
This retreat is deeper than a pause. We're not just unplugging you, we are rewiring you.
I've witnessed these women laugh from the depths of their souls, feel reconnected to who they truly are, tear up from actually taking in a sunset and watching as their shame, their stress, and fears all float off into the great beyond.
You'll map your next season with clarity and leave with insight to keep your nervous system regulated and your choices aligned long after you return. We keep it small on purpose, just 9 women, each supported through high-touch coaching, sisterhood, and real community.
The women who come, they're do-it-allers. They show up no matter what. They climb the mountain with the weight of the world on their back and a smile on their face, because that's just what they do. But they're looking at this next chapter of their life, and they know that they don't want it to feel like the last 5 did.
You don't have to hold it all anymore. You don't have to keep proving you're okay. This retreat is your safe place to land, and it's your invitation to play again.
There's something magical in this land that helps you find the magic in you. The light turns on, the weight lightens, and from there, you decide what the next chapter will be and who you will be inside of that on your terms. This is the magic of saying yes to you.
If you're craving calm and clarity that sticks, this is your invitation to join us in Costa Rica in June. Come exhale with us and remember who you are beneath the noise.